Hi there, thank you so much for being interested in my work. In this video I share with you my techniques and tips on how I achieve these babies' feet. Starting from the outline, the underdrawing, and then the rich colour stroke detail stage. Be sure to watch it right through till the end, because here and there I'll be slowing things down in real time so you can take a closer look. So let's dive in and take a look. Starting off with the outline then, I always put a centre mark in the board, the area. This is a 5" by 4" study, and the same on my reference image. And from that centre point I get the points in there using imaginary angles. So I'm looking at shapes, different points relating to others. For the toes there I'm just putting little circles, so it's just a bit of guesswork to start with, but just keeping a loose sort of hold onto the pencil. So I'm holding the pencil for quite a distance from the point, keep it loose, and once I'm happy with the loose area I sharpen it up, and then it's just a case really of just keep persevering and keep looking in the mirror until it starts to feel right. Once it's roughly in, then I start to slow it down and then make adjustments by using a measuring of the vertical plane, also the horizontal plane as well, and then adjust accordingly. I'm using a Faber-Castell kneadable eraser and then just sculpturing the mark. So I'd put a mark down and then just adjust it with the rubber and then just put another mark. That's how I work with it until I'm happy with it. So first of all it's a little bit of guesswork, but then you start to sort of move it around. Then it's quite nice to be free like that, rather than trying to draw every little bit at a time. Now I'll allow that reference image to come into my heart and draw it from there, so let it come in rather than going too focused on the outside like tunnel vision. Here's the selection of pencils I'll be using for the underdrawing. Before I lay the colour in, I'll just ghost the outline there, just taking that little bit of grey away, and then start off with Carbothello white, just using the actual colour of the board and putting less pressure to create midtones and more pressure to create highlights, and just getting the basic form and structure, just going and making sure I keep the shapes so I don't go over the outline, you see. So this just gives me a sort of little bit of a roadmap for when I lay the colour over the top of this. Just laying in the colour now, so just putting the red in first, and then again just shaping in with the white and using olive green to desaturate the red so it creates natural shadow. And for the warmer areas I'm adding yellow ochre, and then where it's cooler I'm adding the blue, and then desaturating the red with the green. So basically that's what I'm doing here, adding a darker green there just to get more of a shadow. But basically that's what I'm doing, just to get that sort of form together. It's very loosely done, it's hardly putting any pressure on at all. The reason I do underdrawing is so I can reshape what I've drawn as an outline, because it's freehand. I can adjust it with the colours, you see, because toes and fingers, they look ever so strange when you first draw them, and it's only when you start putting the form together that they start to shape up. So I'm doing the underdrawing so I can readjust it to make it feel right. So if it doesn't feel right, it needs attention, and I keep going until it does feel right. Basically that's how I go with instinct rather than overthinking. A tip to keep you relaxed and centered is to open your heart. Imagine there's a big rose bud in the heart chakra there, and just imagine that opening up and send the energy out from there into your reference image. That energy will come back and it'll go through you, out of your hands, into your portrait or whatever you're working on. And the more you can do that, the more it'll just be free flowing, and it'll be less stressful, because it's only through overthinking is that what causes tension. Because you can only think of one thing, but you can be aware of several things. So when you're coming from your heart, you're being more aware than actual thought. Now this awareness actually helps you to adjust things and to get the balance of things, because you can see everything at once and then it becomes one. Then the energy becomes one. It's not just separate little bits like details on these toes, details on a certain area, and so it's not loads of little details. It's more of a complete feeling of energy, and that's what I aspire to. And the way I achieve this, or trying to achieve it, is just to come from the heart, just open up, just let go of control and just observe what's happening. And it will happen. The more you do this, the more it will happen. It's like when you first drive a car. When you're learning, you're conscious of your gears and your accelerator pedal and whatever, but now you just jump in and drive. And the same with your drawing. After practice, you'll just jump in and do it, and just observe it happening. So in a nutshell here, what I'm doing is putting the red down, then yellow ochre if it's warmer, blue if it's cooler, and desaturate the red in certain areas with green. And basically that's all I'm doing, and then just putting different layers of pressure on the white to create tints. So using the white to tint, then glaze again, white to tint, glaze again, then you glaze over with the yellow ochre, cooler, or whatever. But this is just an underdrawing, so it's easily changed, very lightly done, but it's preparation for that rich colour, what I'm going to put in next. For the rich colours then, I'm using the same pencils really, just a bit more pressure, putting more pigment down. In addition to those, I'm using a Faber-Castell white, a pink white from Caran d'Ache, and the other colours there, and maybe a lemon yellow as well. Decided at this point is to get the background more the correct value, because that will make a difference to me judging the actual skin tones more correctly. So all I used is blue and orange. Now that is a complementary colour, so it makes nice greys. So you're more blue where it's colder and more orange where it's a warmer in the shadows and what have you. So it's a great combination to use complementary colours when you can, because it creates more of a subtle reality to it, because that's what happens with the colours as it changes into a shadow. It sort of adds the complementary to it. So if you can do that while you're drawing, it creates a little bit more realism. That's what I'm finding. Now later on in the videos I do actually add more colour to this. It's just getting the basic sort of idea of the freshness and everything down, but I do put more blues into this and purples later on in darker areas. But as you develop, it changes. If you're enjoying this video, why not subscribe? It's absolutely free, and then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Now it's just a blocking of rich colours. The details and everything I'll put in later on in this video, you'll see me do that. It's just getting a sort of an idea of what sort of the feel of it is. Now for the rich colours of the skin tone, add in that pink white to start with, small circles, then the white of the Caran d'Ache, small circles, just getting a feel for it. I'm putting it whiter than I need, so then when I glaze over the top, that whiteness will shine through and it'll make it glow. Some areas I'm using the Carbothello white, so it's different whites. When it's not so bright and fresh, I'm using the Carbothello white, and when it's really fresh or reflected light in this instance, I'm using the Faber-Castell or the Caran d'Ache. I do like to blend with the Carbothello one because it's quite chalky and it sort of merges things together quite easily. So just building it up, and it's still a blocking, but it's a blocking of the rich colour stage. All the details will be put in later on in this video. Just like to take this opportunity to thank all my patrons for their wonderful support every month. If you consider joining me on Patreon and would like the benefit of longer, slower and more in-depth videos, please check out the link in the description below. Now most of the videos I'm putting on now is all in real time, video, real-time audio, so you get to see me moment to moment and you can hear me talking and discussing what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Also name all the brands and the numbers, and you can actually follow along with me and draw with me if you wanted to. But it's only a small amount each month, so please check out that in the description. You can go annually now, where you can save 2 months. You get 2 months free if you want to do it annually as well, so please check out the link in the description below. Now, to create really fresh purples, the cold red and ultramarine blue is ideal, so I'll be adding that to the actual reflected light soon. Using cold red for the deep shadows creates more of a depth to it as well, so just adding that bit of cold red into the shadow makes all the difference. Now, to help create the smoothness of the skin, I'm using a earbud there, just a very small pressure on that, not just digging in too deep because it'll just take the pigment off. So it's very, very light pressure just to soften it all. Skin tone is never smooth anyway, but even babies have got little bits of squiggles and areas that, you know, are not smooth. So now I'm just adding a little bit more blue now to the background. Because I've done a bit more depth to the skin tone, it's changed the background, so that's why I'll keep going backwards and forwards until it gets the balance of it. So when you initially do it, it looks like it's right colour, but as soon as you start putting darker areas and lighter areas in the rich colour stage, it changes the background colours a bit. That's why I'll always leave the details till the last. So I'm just glazing with it blue and orange just to create that sort of natural feel to it. If you want to know more about how I use complementary colours for shadows, especially skin tones, here's a free class for you. The link is in the description below, and all I talk about is how I use the complementary colours to create natural shadows, and it's there for you free if you want to check it out. Now, my technique does take a while to build up. You just got to be sort of patient and persevere. That's the key, perseverance. Just keep going and going and going, and eventually it works and it comes together. It's just layer after layer after layer. It starts to build up that sort of feeling of flesh tone and aliveness. Now I'm combining the actual rich colour stage with detail on that other foot, and now I'm doing the same here. So I'm blocking in first the rich colours, and then I'll just put that little bit of detail on the top of that later once I've got everything blocked in. So I did the other one first, more details, just so I could see how it's going to turn out, which will help me to keep focused and relaxed on the other foot. So sometimes you have to do that. I mean, normally I'll just do everything sort of loose, like a block-in rich colour stage, then the details all at once, but sometimes it has to be different. You just got to go with how it feels, and it just felt right for me to do that. And here I'm just sharpening things up as well. So I've blocked in there, then I'll try and sharpen the edges a little bit, because when you put the details in, it's all about getting the edges correct, the temperature, the value, the chroma, and chroma means how things glows. It's not just about the values, it's about some things glow more than others and some are more subdued, so you're getting that sort of balance as well. So there's a lot to do when you do the details, but this is all prep for it, just blocking in first and then just enjoy the process really. And what it does, it just keeps everything nice and relaxed, because you know you're blocking in, so you don't have to worry about the detail at that stage, and then just do the details towards the end. If you're enjoying this video, why not give it a like and share it with your friends? It would mean so much to me, because this would help the channel to grow. Now, to get this glow here, I'm using two different reds and then lemon yellow. So I've noticed that if I add lemon yellow to any colour, it creates more of the glow to it, or the chroma. Only a little bit, but it does make a difference. Good tip is to keep looking in the mirror and seeing it at a different angle. It brings out the imperfections. And what I'm doing here is just working on the whole, so I'm keeping my awareness wide and trying to create a oneness. So a little bit of shadow here, a little bit of subtlety here, a little bit more reflected light here, sharpness here. It just all adds to the sort of overall feeling of it. Just slowing it down now to real time so you can actually see how I'm using the colour shaper, and just little dabs rather than pulling it across the surface. I'm just little dabs, just moving, pushing and pulling the pigment around just to get that sort of sharpness and to sort of create the softness if I need to. So I'm using it like a paintbrush really. I'm just picking bits of pigment off the pastel mat and moving them around really. It's a great tool to have just for these finishing touches. Sometimes you have to add more pigment to create the actual right vibrancy. So it looks a bit darker when you're adding that pigment, but you have to sort of be aware that once you've added the white and other colours with it, it will become the correct shade. So you just tint it to the right shade, but you need sometimes to add a little bit more pigment to get that richness of colour. Now in the background there, it needs to be sort of fresher and brighter, so I've used the Rembrandt stick. Now you notice it looks a bit yellowy when you first put it on, so you have to cool that down by adding the blue to it, make it a fresher white. And then I'm using a little paper stump there just to smooth it off in the edges. And it's just my suggestion, it's not exactly the same as a reference as you can see, but it's just my sort of interpretation of that woolly sort of fabric. And here I'm just reducing the size of it so you can actually see what it looks like at a distance more, because what you've been seeing is it's close up, but when you stand back and see this 5" by 4" study, it looks quite smooth and fresh, but when you look close at it, you can see all the marks and everything. So they always say you should look at a painting or drawing from a distance, so I'm just giving you the chance here just to see it that way. And just putting that final touches, just smoothing things off here, look, with a earbud, which is really handy to have. Thank you so much for watching the video right till the end. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It would mean so much to me because this would help the channel to grow. Fascinating subject. The toes are really hard to draw. It was quite a challenge really, because they do look a little bit alien when you first do them, but with patience and perseverance, that's the key. If there's any questions at all, please leave a message in the comment section below this video and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So in the meantime, if you want to see any more of my work, please check out this video here. Take care. Bye.